Okay, welcome to PM orientation class for the December session. Okay, welcome on board to ACC Flip Learning, everyone. I'm really glad to have all of you on board with me. Let's start this exciting journey. Here we are. Okay, starting with a little bit about my introduction. As you guys know already, quite a lot of you know me already. So I'm a professional ACC teacher. Actually, I'm ex-tutor at Scan School of Accountancy. It's an ALP platinum level tuition provider in Pakistan, located in the capital city of Pakistan, that is Islamabad. So, and my subject specialty is cost and management related, and I teach all management papers. Okay, I've produced excellent result, almost 100% up till paper till F2, and 80% plus result in F5. Okay, I have 3 years corporate experience. I've altogether about I qualified ACCA in 2010, and thereon I have my experience. 10 to 11 years experience, and that includes 3 years corporate experience. I worked in Telenor finance and accounting department as their finance executive, and also in another company known as Interactive Group. So there I was working as their pricing specialist. Okay, I started my own thing, ACC Flip Learning, when this Corona pandemic started. So when everybody opted this digital learning medium, so I also came up with this flip model, which is actually flipping off your traditional classroom, but still it's recorded plus live, so you get the touch of the physical classroom at the same time. So starting with the syllabus areas in PM, okay, there's information system, then there's costing techniques that you guys already did up till now. Starting from the recap of marginal absorption costing, then ABC costing, target costing, life cycle costing, throughput costing, and environmental costing. Then there comes an area, by budgeting area, and in that you would learn about different budgeting techniques and their suitability for different organization, like stable organization, dynamic organization, like public sector organization. What should be the budgeting tool to budget discretionary fixed costs? So all those techniques you're going to, and also quantitative analysis in the budgeting as well. That I've already uploaded a lesson, learning curve, okay? So all those things you're going to learn in the budgeting. And after budgeting, there comes the area of control. Control basically is the variance, and variance is the difference between budgeted result and your actual result, right? It actually gives you an idea that how far you have achieved your objectives, right? Because budget is your tactical plan, your medium-term objective, okay? Usually 1 year. So after 1 year, and also their monthly control reports, just gives you an idea about feedback about, it basically tells you about your performance, okay? And this part is connected with this because it really tells you favorable variances, and when the actual profit is more than the budgeted profit, it actually gives you an idea that you have done, the cost has been controlled, things have been under control. So that's the control area where we're going to learn about the variances. So PM is basically, it tops up on your F2 concepts. Like you have studied your costing techniques in F2, right? You have studied budgeting in F2. You have studied variances in F2. You have studied almost touch small part of performance measurement as well in your F2. So it just adds on. It just adds on and take you to a higher level of PM, and PM just adds on, and there's a higher level known as APM, right? That's the advanced performance management. Here you are just in advanced performance management, you're just acting as a business consultant who would just tell you what are your areas that you're lacking behind, whether in planning, whether in control, whether you didn't take the right decisions for the company. So as a business consultant, you work in that capacity. So in F2 level, you're more of a cost and a cost accountant, more of a cost and management accountant. And this is the borderline between F2 and APM, okay? So here you are just learning different theories, different techniques, okay? you are just gathering those different techniques in your Pandora box that would just help you to assess the business performance. Okay, so here at times you will be required to discuss the business performance, to assess the performance that that what were the, but here you're not required to advise about the performance. You just need to discuss the performance and assess that what have been going wrong in the company. What happened, you should be able to calculate that. What happened and why those things happened, okay? You're not required to advise. Advice is a work of a business consultant. So it's not too lower level, not too advanced levels. It just lies somewhere in between. And these are the topics, same would be assessed in APM as well. The topic areas are almost the same, okay? Whether it's F2, PM, or APM, okay? But just the difficulty level and the way the questions are addressed and your position changes, okay? Your position basically changes, right? So about the exam format, it's a 3-hour exam comprising of 3 sections. You already know that, section A, section B, and section C. So it's basically 60% is the objective test and 40% is basically 40 mark, and 60 mark is for the objective test part. So objective test part, students tend to ignore that part. That's really important. That's where you're getting the most of the marks out of 100. Okay, out of the 100, 60% you're getting from section A and section B. It's very important. It's very important. Because if you haven't answered any MCQ or any objective test question or any fill in the blank properly or any multiple task question, multiple response question properly, you will just lose your 2 marks. Okay, but you still be getting a few marks in section C for even doing the calculation wrong. I'm going to talk about the own figure rule here, okay, later. So it's really important that you try to maximize your marks in section A and section B. So section A comprises of 15 objective test questions, 2 marks each, right? So that makes 30 marks from section A. And then 3 multitask questions, 10 marks each, okay? So 3, that makes 30. 30 plus 30, that makes 60 marks for section A and section B together. And each multitask questions comprises of 5 tasks, 2 marks each, right? So that's how you get 10 marks for 1 multitask questions, and there'll be about 3 multitask questions, okay? And then 2 constructive response questions, 20 marks each, right? So 40 marks you get from here, 30, 30, 60 plus 40. And from where, what topics are coming each of the section, okay? So it's the whole syllabus that comes in 60% of, it's the whole syllabus. From any syllabus area that we talked earlier, whether it's information system, whether it's budgeting, whether it's control, whether it's performance, okay? You get to have questions from section A and section B. It covers the entire syllabus, okay? Comes from the entire syllabus. However, in section C, only one is excluded. Only one is excluded, which is advanced costing techniques, the area you just did. Now, that would only be assessed in section A and section B, and it won't be assessed in section C type questions, right? It won't come in section C. Other than that, information system, be it information system, be it decision-making, performance, control, budget, okay, all type of questions may come other than advanced costing techniques in section C, and 50% is your passing percentage. So it's not a piece of cake, right? And you would be more frightened here in case you are. Have a look at the global pass rates here. See, starting from December 2018 to March 2019, June 2019, September 2019, December up till March. You see that 39% went up to 42%, then went down, then went up 38, 39, 40, 41, 3 percentages up, and then 41, 3 percentages down, yeah, and then, oh, even more down. Are you guys frightened? Good. It keeps you on your toes, okay? I was working in Telenor, and there was my boss who was like that a little stress is good, okay? You're not supposed to take tension. Don't take tension, right? But a little stress is good. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you on your toes, okay? Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment, okay? And then types of objective test questions. The different types of objective test questions like multiple choice questions, in which from 3 to 4 options you maybe have to correct one answer out of 4 options, one answer. Multiple response may be out of maybe 2 out of 4, maybe the right option, maybe where more than one answers, where multiple right answers are there, maybe 2 out of 4, or maybe 4 out of 8, yeah, okay, depending upon the type of questions. Then there are number entry questions, which are fill in the blanks question, and you should be very careful about these questions, like especially for the rounding errors. You guys made a lot of rounding errors in the first quiz I just checked, okay? So 48.25 was the right answer, I believe, but there was one student who wrote 48 and didn't check that the answer was supposed to be in 2 decimal place. So because in objective test, you just lose your precious 2 marks, right? It could really make a difference, no? Then there are drag and drop questions, okay? I guess you guys, where you have to drag the statement to the right response area, okay? Drop down list with this drop down list. For example, in one list, for example, there are 3 options. You're calculating a variance, 10,000, 2,000, and there's another drop down list where the answer is one option is favorable and the other option is adverse, and the right option is 10,000 favorable. So from this drop down list, you select 10,000, and from the other drop down list, you select the option of adverse. Then there are some graphical question where there's a graph given, for example, from decision making area, from CVP analysis, from decision tree. A question like this could come where an actual spot on a graph, on a decision tree, like any branch of the decision tree, like any line on the graph is your right answer. That's the hot, one particular spot like A or B needs to be selected, and that would be a correct answer. Now this hot area, where an area would be your right answer, not a spot, but that area would be your right answer. You need to select the right area. Okay, possible reasons of failure in exam. Okay, not following a comprehensive study plan. You really need to follow a comprehensive study plan, and it requires 2 hours every day of rigorous and dedicated study. 2 hours every day, and in that, because you, for example, if you have 3 months, usually you have less than 3 months, so you need to break your plan into months, and from months into days, and from days into hours. This is like a dedicated, rigorous study, and a comprehensive study plan is all about, right? Breaking that long-term plan into short-term milestones and then achieving it accordingly. So 2 hours, I say, rigorous study, and could be increased to more when the exam is near, right? So students do not understand the question requirements properly. They really don't understand the 2 important things in any kind of a question is basically your action verb and your object. It's really important. Action verb is basically what you have to perform. What is your action that needs to be taken, whether it's discuss, whether it's assess, whether it's explain, whether it's state, whether it's outline. So you really need to understand the meaning of all these action verbs, that here what I need to do. Like in stating and outlining, you really need to just be concise to the point and highlight the main important points. But when it comes to discuss and explain, but here you need to explain a bit more, not just the narrative, small explanation is required, but as some detailed explanation with examples, probably with example where you get to explain your concept rather than just stating For example, state the steps of activity-based costing. State, so to the point, but when explain the steps of activity-based costing. So you would really need to explain that what is your cost pool. Okay, cost pool are basically the resources that are consuming the activities. So you accumulate all the costs related to those activities and make a cost pool to it. That's the explanation I need. Make a cost pool, it's like stating and just outlining the important, but so you really need to understand the requirement, what it is. Okay, and object is really important. Object is the center of your action. For example, explain the problems, explain the facts. Okay, state the steps. State what to state? Steps of ABC costing, let's suppose. So that's the object. Okay, so what you have to outline, state, and about what is your center of action. Your center of action is your object. You really need to understand all of these things. So possible reasons of failure in F5 exam is basically your weak F2 concepts. Here you are required to use spreadsheet, and you need to write a discursive question that you have never done before. Yeah, or on the top of the weak F2 concepts, yeah, people struggle with variances even at F5 level. They don't really understand variances. They don't have good F2 concepts. So how are they going to understand the advanced variances in PM if they don't know the basic variance? People struggle here to learn about the advanced costing technique like other costing techniques. But because they have weak F2 concept, they don't even know the basics. What is absorption costing and what is marginal costing? So they struggle. With their basics. Why they struggle in PM? Because their basics are very weak. They struggle in decision making because they don't really understand what is the marginal cost. Marginal cost is a cost that is incurred on one particular unit. Okay. For example, if I've been producing 5,000 pencils, and if I produce one more pencil, okay, so I know the rental cost or the fixed cost is not going to increase. The only cost that is going to increase is the variable cost or a marginal cost. So they struggle. And so in decision making as well, they don't really know the relevant cost. The relevant cost is a cost that just changes because of your decision. Decision is making one more pencil. So definitely rental cost is not a relevant cost for me if I make one more pencil. So everything is interlinked. Look how nicely I've created the link between marginal costing, relevant costing, that is assessed in. And also they struggle a lot in the decision-making part. Why is that so? They struggle a lot in this part I'm talking about, in the decision-making part, because why? Because they have learned about decision-making in MA2. They've forgotten about it. They really struggle here. And they don't know budgeting, and this because of weak F2 concepts. And here they totally don't remember, because that's what they studied back in the MA2. Struggle a lot. Don't even remember what a marginal cost. So how are they going to learn other pricing decisions or other relevant costing decisions in PM level? Okay, and not being able to, because there's a time management issue. There's a time, you really need to manage your time. At times, talking about CRQ, 36 minutes for that, you really struggle. You struggle, really, you struggle a lot, because a lot has to be catered for, and 36 minutes is just not enough. So how are you going to achieve that 36 minutes? By practice. They don't practice. And spreadsheet. They don't use spreadsheet to the optimum. Okay, and they struggle while they're doing the calculations, when maybe they're required to do discussion more, because maybe calculation is just for 30% of the marks, and 70% is because of the discussion, and they don't know, and they spend a lot of time in that particular part because they don't know how they don't know the spreadsheet magic. By using the same formula and just replicate the formula, you can save a lot of time instead of inputting the formula again and again in the cells. So they are not able to use spreadsheet to the optimum. And in the discursive part, since they don't understand the requirement, they don't know what they really have to do. And at times they are only answering what they want to rather than what they should do, what they should do. Because at times you get overwhelmed. Oh yeah, we've done 5 questions like that in the kit, but here they didn't understand the requirement. They're writing what they should do they're writing what they want to rather than what they should do. And at times they're just addressing the half of the requirement, the half of the requirement. Let me give you an example in that. Like, for example, a question is that there's a model, buildings block model. It has got 6 dimensions. So the question is like, identify, action verb is identify. Identify 6 uh, performance indicators, okay? Performance indicators, okay? That's one part where you need to identify performance indicator for each of the dimension. For each dimension means there's 6 dimensions there. So for each dimension, you need to identify your performance indicator. So for example, if then and there's mark for each one of that, and for example, if they identified performance indicator for 5 and not for 6, so that's called addressing half of the requirement. And question doesn't stop here. Here you were required, there are multiple requirements in the same question at the same time. Identify 6 performance indicator for each dimension and explain why that performance indicator has been chosen and explain why that performance indicator was chosen. Why? So that's another part of the requirement. And the third part of the requirement, and comment whether the objective has been achieved or not, or how was their performance. And comment whether that performance measure has been, or that objective has been achieved or not. Whether objective has been achieved or not. So it's a 3-part requirement, okay? So you really need to understand how many action verbs here. How many action verbs? One is identify. Identify word, object is performance indicators, right? Performance indicators for each dimension, okay? And explain, action verb next is explain. Explain what? Why that performance object, that performance indicator was chosen. And then third action verb, and comment whether the objective has been achieved or not. So addressing half of the requirement, you just get half of the points. Okay. So time management. So time management, not covering the whole syllabus. It's a dilemma of PM students that the topic spot, area spot, the question spot. I'm going to show you the extract that has come in the exam. And from that, you could not guess. Everybody has got a different exam. There was one student who said, ma'am, there wasn't even a single question on variances. But if I get to see the paper, okay, there in section C, there were 2 topics from variance that was assessed. So just don't mean that even if you haven't got that, so that question wasn't tested in that exam. No, never. So what was tested back? So let me tell you. So don't just cover the entire syllabus. Just cover the entire syllabus. Here you need to develop your analytical skills. Okay, changes in the numbers expressed in absolute terms doesn't really mean anything. Okay. For example, if I say that complaints in 2009 were 1,000 and in 2010 complaints were 5,000. So just tell them that there was an increase of 4,000 in complaints. You won't get your marks. Rather, what you should do that you should get an answer in not in absolute terms, but rather in percentages. What is the percentage increase in customer complaints? What is percentage increase in complaints? You should explain or discuss in discussive part. You should write it like this. So what would be the increase in the customer complaints here? So easily it is calculated. The current figure minus, so the formula is current figure minus base figure divided by base into 100. What is the increase? So the difference 5,000 minus 4,000. So the difference is 1,000, and 1,000 divided by 1000 into 100. So 4,000 divided by 1,000 into 100. So that makes an increase of 400% increase in the customer complaints. It is 400% increase. And making general comments for discursive question and not linking to the scenario for application-based requirement. The two types of requirement that could come in your exam. One is entirely a knowledge-based. For example, explain the steps of ABC costing. So it is not in context to any business scenario. It's just a knowledge-based question. Okay, so just address the requirement, okay, explain it, provide some explanation and just go ahead with your answer. Here you don't need to link your answer with the exhibits of the question. But when there's an application-based requirement, for example, they say apply zero-based cost, zero-based budgeting to XYZ company, XYZ company. So that's an application of the zero-based budgeting. And here you need to link your answer while applying a zero-based budgeting. You need to obviously link your answer to that company. So for that, you need to pinpoint the important key information given in the scenario, and then you need to apply. And also you need to remember the knowledge bit, but here it's the answer, the marks is more for the application. So now you're making general comments and not relating to that particular company and not linking your answer with the scenario. You won't get marks for that. Okay. At times, I told you the calculation is all, the answer is all only 30% calculation and 70% it is a discussion. Mostly for in section C type question in performance measurement, it is more of a discussion, an assessment of performance of any particular company, where you may be assessing performance with respect to competitor, with respect to budget, or with respect to the last year performance, whether the performance was good or bad, okay? Checking different performance indicators, financial and non-financial. Gross profit has increased, net sale growth has increased, customer complaints has increased, etc., etc., just like that. So it's more, so here, don't over calculate and don't underwrite. Okay, you need to write properly in order to get your marks, and don't just over calculate. Don't over calculate. Let me tell you, in section C only, there is an own figure rule. For example, in one part, you were required to calculate return on investment, which is controllable profit divided by controllable investment. And as you remember, it's profit before interest and tax divided by capital employed. Okay. So, for example, they calculated controllable profit wrongly. So, for example, there was 1 mark for the controllable profit. Only mark would be deducted there. And in part B, they were required to calculate return residual income. And in residual income control, the formula is controllable profit minus notional interest on capital employed. So again, controllable, the student would be penalized. For example, if the student calculated controllable profit wrong, would he be penalized again in the second part of the requirement? No, he won't be. So don't go over and check your calculations because you have limited time, only 36 minutes for a 20-mark requirement. You will run out of time if you go over and go in section C. I'm just talking here. I'm just talking about section C. If you would go over and check your calculations over and over again, this is the own figure rule that exists, that he won't be penalized for the same mistake again in the other parts of the requirement. So don't worry here. Even if controllable profit was wrong, ROI he would be getting the credit for that as per the own figure rule. So you are only penalized once. Okay. So we're going to talk about the examination technique. Okay, we students don't really know how to gain the easy marks. One easy mark, I told you, there's then own figure rule. And lacking examination techniques, I'm going to talk about how you're going to address all of these failures that we just discussed here by how you're going to, you have to do a lot of practice on the CB practice platform. I'm going to share the link as well. Go through a walk through PM specimen exam, you will get an idea how different objective test questions are tested. How, if I take you to, I do have this specimen exam opened right in front of me. See, this is one objective test question. Okay, this is any one option is the right answer. This is multiple choice question, right? Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to do that and check other questions. What kind of questions? Like fill in the blank question. That's section A right now. That's section A. 15 questions from section A. Okay. Then again, fill in the blank kind of a question. Okay. Coming from different topics in section A, you can't miss in section B. Even in all sections, you can't question spot or topic spot. Aim of section A is the question, broad question from all areas are tested, especially in section A. And in section B type questions, maybe 4 topics are tested in one because it's kind of a multitask. Maybe one task correspond to one particular topic and multiple topics are assessed. You can't really miss any important. So this is drop down. This is kind of a drop down. Let me show you. Take you back. So there's a navigator and there's a, let me take you back. This is a drop down question. You need to select one right answer. For example, I selected this. And then drag and drop. You need to pick the right statement to the right area. For example, builds in previous problems and inefficiencies. I take it to incremental budgeting. Okay, just like this. And then hotspot area. Once you solve all the problem, you just select the right area. For example, this is the one. And also showing you section, go to the navigator, and these are 15 section 8 questions, and then comes section B. How section B questions are there? Yeah, here's this question. See? So here you need